Hello, everybody. It is Sky, and we are back to What is So Funny. So, today we are going to talk about what is coming up and what are some of my plans for the future goal of What is So Funny and what I plan to do for the next part of what I want to be as a comedian, what I want to see. So, I have not really shared this with anybody yet, so this is the first time coming out public and just coming on the open about it. So first off, I did share the events of this week. They are on the channel already. So secondly, there is a big event, a big fundraiser coming up, which I'm really excited about. It is a mental health awareness that's going to be held at somebody's property. Again, I just posted about that as well. And so that is going to be this big event with lots and lots of people, hopefully, raffle baskets, sponsors, 20-something comedians, a live band. It's going to be a blast. I'm so excited. It's unbelievable. I'm going to be back at the Parma Pit Stop for a show, and then I'm going to do the open mic night again coming up. I forget what day that is. I'll have to update you guys. And then in terms of my goals that I want to see myself do, I want to see, obviously, myself perform more. I want to come up with more jokes, obviously, because for me, I don't do the same sets all the time. In fact, for each show, prior to the show, probably a week in advance, I write the whole set down that I want to do, time it to the time that I have, and then if I need to, like the last show I did in Geneva, I actually ad-libbed a bunch of stuff because I had more time added to me, which I wasn't planning on. So I did my whole set and then just kind of bullshitted my way through the rest. So that was a change that I'd never done. So typically I've been doing 5-minute sets. That was an 8-minute set, so I had to add, or it wasn't even an 8-minute set, it was probably like 7 or 6, but still, I had to add more time, so I had to talk about more things, which was crazy. But for this one, it's got to be, again, 5 minutes to 6, so I'm going to try to add something to it where it doesn't feel like I'm stumbling on rocks, which is not what I always want to do. I want it to sound like I had practiced, or more or less, it sounds more flowy than just dropping rocks in the water and see what hits. And then beyond that, I want to get the YouTube channel up and running. I want it to be the place where I upload stuff. I upload stuff to my Facebook all the time, but I want that to be the main place where I upload stuff. I upload shows, I upload content. I want that to be the place because I want to get my name out there. But I also want to show my comedian friends that I've met through the journey, because they are the reason why I am where I am. Because if it wasn't for that first show and talking to Monty, I would not be where I am this past month and going where I'm going. So, it's just one thing after another, after another, after another. So that is where I am hoping to go in the future. How far in the future, I have no idea. And that is what I am most excited about, is not knowing where the future is going to take me with this. I'm not going so far in the future that I can't control, but far in the future in terms of months, or a couple of months at least, I want to see something amazing come out of this, because I want to make realistic goals that can be in my control, so I can see something good come out of it. And I want to share that thought process with you guys. That's what I'm going to use this for. Either it's going to be a podcast. I'm going to show you guys throughout the process of how I practice jokes. Maybe sometimes I'll come on here and I'll say a few things, like I'll practice. This is where I'm going to do the practice rehearsals. So there's always going to be something on here about whether or not how I do my stuff, my thought process and everything. So it's all going to be on here. It's all going to be raw and real, which is really exciting. So I think that's what's going to be very special about this page, is you get to see, like, behind closed doors, more or less, what it's going to be like. And that's not something I am used to is hiding the craft from people, or more or less when I tried to become an actor, I would hide what I did to keep it raw and real when I did it for real on the stage. But now I want you to see what I'm doing and my thought process behind it, because it is something that is very new to me, and I want to do very well in it. So I want the feedback. What could I do better? How could I change this? I want this to be a good experience. So to get my advice from other people, that's what comedy is. You always can get better input from people, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So having a YouTube channel, seeing where I could be better myself, and honestly, someone who has anxiety, getting feedback isn't always easy for me, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not. But for some reason, when it's with comedy stuff, it is like the easiest fucking thing. I know with certain other things, if I get feedback, I lose my shit and I act like the world was just set to a flame. But with comedy shit, it's so much easier to take. It's like, oh yeah, no, I get that. It's X, Y, and Z, but if it's something else, it's like, I'm gonna torch this bitch, So it's definitely it's teaching me a lot about myself, but it's teaching me a lot about how to be a better person too, and it's opening so many interesting doors emotionally and to me that I never thought were gonna be opened, and it is making me excited about the future. And a lot of people, like I said in the last podcast, a lot of people don't realize that this mentally is something that is good for me. I do have a service dog. I have had him for the last almost 8-9 years. I can't remember, it's been 8-9 years, but yeah. And unfortunately he is retired. So I was going through this very bad phase where I didn't know what I was going to do. I already have 4 dogs, so I can't exactly get a 5th right now. And I can't get a 5th dog right now, and it's just not something that's possible. So I was having this big mental breakdown of what I was gonna do, and then this kind of just fell into my lap at the perfect time, and again opened so many doors that I didn't think were possible or meant to happen. And then I was like, wow, this is opening a new part of me that I didn't think was there or needed or whatever. And it was yeah, this definitely needed to happen in some sense, was something that needed to almost take the place until I could get a new service dog. And eventually I'm going to need one, and then somehow bring that into my act. But for now, something that can temporarily take the place of my service dog. Now, when I get a service dog, I'm not going to quit comedy. I will tell you that right now, because I enjoy so far going on this journey, and I plan to be better and better. But the fact that I want to go far in this is something that I've put the time in. And a lot of people don't know this as well. My background was originally martial arts, and I actually have fibromyalgia, which is a muscle disorder. And so I had to quit martial arts because I'm a 4-3 black belt in martial art in Taekwondo, and I had to silently quit because I couldn't do it anymore. And with comedy, there's so many different comedians out there, old, young, disabled comics, any comic of any race. So it doesn't really matter. Anybody can be a comic. And I say that because my fibro wasn't going to stop me from being a comic. And that made me feel good knowing that I could have fibro and still be a comic. And it wasn't something that could be taken away. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna, keep pushing and pushing wherever I can. Things that I became Jimmy Monty's roadie, and Jimmy offered me to be a roadie, and then it just went from there. And naturally, a nice person, it just became so much more than it is, and I love it. And I love the people I've met in the last month, almost the month, because it hasn't even been a full July. And just, I'm trying so hard to learn as much knowledge as I can, and I'm trying to better myself, trying to just get out there and meet the right people, network with the right people, learn when I'm, like I said, I've mentioned this before, when I'm at a comedy show, I watch people heavily, I'm really watching them, because I'm trying to see their mannerism, trying to see how they do certain things, because for me, I almost see it like not an act, but when people talk, they do certain things, and for me, I talk with my hands a lot, but the problem is when I'm talking, I have the mic in my hand, I usually have my phone in my other, that tells me to keep on subject of what I'm talking about. Well, then I can't talk with my hands because I'm either going to drop my phone or I'm going to drop the mic. So I have to figure out another way to move around where I'm not wiggling too much, because I do one of these, or I tap my foot. I'm not trying to do any one of those things. So I have a lot of weird idiosyncrasies of my own. That's just me, I guess. But it's definitely one of those things that, like, as I'm watching comedy shows by myself, specifically when I'm with my fiance, I don't do it as much because sometimes we're talking to each other about who we think is funny. But when I'm by myself and I'm in that front row, because I can't hear very well, I am tuned into what's going on. I hear every joke. I hear when people are laughing, the timing. I'm listening to everything. I'm so tuned in. Sometimes the comic picks on me, and I like that. I actually feel like that's a badge of honor when a comic picks on you, because they either mention my blue hair, they mention I'm Asian, or they mention that I'm in the front row sometimes. It's usually one of those two main things, is Asian or I'm in the front. Or I'm Asian or I have blue hair, and I love it. The Asian jokes are very funny, personally, so. But yeah, I definitely, there's so many more plans I want to do in terms of the future of this. The podcast was definitely the big one, in getting stuff out there, uploading stuff, featuring friends that I've made. Obviously, I didn't want to feature and just throw people out there. So far, it's Carmen and Monty are the first two that made the feature up, obviously, because Monty was the guy who started it all for me and got me on stage, so he obviously was first. And then Carmen, because he was he actually wasn't the first headliner I met. I just recently met him, but he was a very unique comic that I met, at least for me personally, so I featured him next. And then I have somebody else I'm featuring next. It's just I had to verify my YouTube channel, so I had to wait 24 hours to post in the one part of YouTube, so I can post reels and I can post videos, but I have to wait to post a reel or a post. I might be able to post this video after, I don't know, so if not, this video will be up tomorrow after 24 hours is up. Otherwise, it will be up tonight or next thing tomorrow, so. But, the other thing I am hoping for with the future of this podcast / YouTube channel, I am hoping to bring awareness to, honestly, my own struggles. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but, like, honestly, comedy, I think, really did, in a way, save my life. Because I was in between the space of when I started doing the first open mic at night, going to these comedy shows for the first time, like not even doing my open mic night, but I started going to comedy shows, and then it led up to an open mic night. I was really struggling mental health wise, because I didn't know what I was going to do about a service dog and going out, and the only time I was going out was going to comedy shows. So I didn't know what the future was going to really hold for me in general, and I was freaking out. And so comedy, in a sense, gave me a little bit of future back of what to plan for. And I think that's amazing that it gave me kind of that future back, because it gives me something, in a sense, to look forward to. Like now, it gives me a sense to look forward to a show. It gives me a sense to look forward to friends, And now I'm not so anxious anymore. Like, I still get anxious when I have to go to, like, stores and stuff. But the comedy shows take that away, and I like that. And, it gives me a mental health break, which is sometimes what people need. So being able to do a show like we're going to be doing for the fundraiser, knowing that I'm a big part of something, it does make me feel really good, because depression, anxiety being the specific hellhole that I have to deal with is the one that stops me from doing quite a bit. I made that joke the first open mic, or my first open mic night. It is really like being in a polyamorous relationship. It does not let me do jack diddly shit. And sometimes it is so controlling that I don't feel like I have control over it. It's like a little puppet I say in my set. And, you know, that is so raw and real for me because it's the way I live. And essentially comedy cuts the strings on that and gives me kind of my life, which is really nice. Yeah, and so I like having that freedom back. I really do, because anxiety doesn't always give me that freedom, and comedy feels like it gives me that freedom back. It does. So, you know, comedy gives me kind of my freedom, it gives me a future, and it gives me something to look forward to, and it's the three things I really want, and it's nice. And I don't think people realize I've only done 2 shows technically, but those 2 shows mean the more that I plan to do more. I just, one of these days I gotta sit down with Nancy and see what we can do, because like I said, I want to do so much more. I do. I want to do so much more. And I'm just, it's just like I said, I've been amazed with the people I've met and the networking that has been done. Because every chance I go to these places, I try to introduce myself. I introduce that I'm a comic, an upcoming comic, trying to, you know, I'm not even dipping my feet in the water at this point. I'm trying to just jump right into the pool. And, you know, Nancy's always going out of her way to introduce me to people. Jimmy's always doing that. So it's like, we're trying to get my name out there. And I love that. And that's the important part I've learned about comedy, is that you have to network yourself out there. You must have to sell yourself a little bit. And that's what I've been trying to do. And I feel like my YouTube channel, that's what it's good for. But it's also good that I don't leave my other friends hanging, and I network them a little bit too, because, again, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be even trying this again. I wouldn't be on stage. I'm only like a 5-minute act. Half of them are like 8 to 12-minute acts, you know, or even a half an hour or 20, you know, 20 to half an hour. You know, so again, I'm just this little cheese, and then they're the big acts. So, it's just, it's so nice to be raw and real with you guys and let my ADHD just go off the rails and show you guys where my thoughts are and where I want to be in and stuff. And I very much enjoy that. And that's exactly why I do this, with just let the camera run and show you guys what I'm thinking, because there is a lot up there that I have planned and there's nobody to tell. And I'm like, no, there's somebody to tell. I can tell you guys, and then you guys can know my plans, and they don't have to sit up here and simmer for X amount of time, and I don't feel like that I'm just a kettle about to goddamn explode. Because that's what it sometimes feels like, because it's either that or I just talk out loud like a crazy patient in my car. So I have 2 options. So I'm like, nah, I'll just podcast it, and that way it feels more like genuine versus like kind of like a crazy patient. So, but yeah, definitely check out Monty and Jimmy Ward and Nancy for sure, because they're the main people who have big shows here up in Ashtabula, Parma, and the Parma area. And I say Parma because they're the ones that really put on those shows. So if you're in those 2 areas, check out their shows, because they're putting on a lot of good shows. And yeah, so if you follow me on YouTube and there's a way to message me, I can get you more info. I'm eventually going to link up my I'm gonna have to make a website maybe or something. I'll figure it out. because they're all on their own, so I don't really want to give you like their information necessarily, but I want you to be able to find them somehow. That's kind of their way to network them. Me, I want you to be able to see them and find them, but honestly, they're not hard to find. I mean, you look them up and you'll be able to find them pretty easily. It's not hard. So, but you guys have been great. I hope you guys enjoyed this tonight. It is now 10:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And honestly, guys, the one thing I just want to leave you with tonight is that I have learned 2 things about comedy. I've learned a lot about comedy, but the 2 things I've learned, at least personally, is 1, no disability can stop you from doing comedy, and number 2, there's no age limit for comedy. I have seen some amazing comedians that are old enough to be my grandparents and my parents, and they are fucking hilarious and don't miss a beat. So if you think you're too young or too old to be a comedian, I beg the fuck to differ. Because trust me, there are some older guys out there who are fucking funny as shit. So don't let that stop you, okay? Alright. I'll talk to you guys all later. Alright. Bye.